without a shadow of a doubt, it's the drunkest show in social media history. I want to welcome you to the War Zone. I got my co-host, Donovan Sadiq, the Queen Demetra Day. And tonight, if your credit score is 250, we're going to try to get you some help. But if your credit score 250, you might need to go to the shelf. So it is what it is. We got Georgia Keller in the building. Credit talk is what we doing tonight. Let's get to it, man. Say, I want to welcome you to another episode of the War Zone, and I want to thank you as usual for tuning in, because without you guys, we couldn't do what we do. The best audience of any talk show in social media history. So thank y'all for tuning in. You could be somewhere else, especially on a Friday night. But I really don't think you could be somewhere else, because they done shut everything down. So you ain't got no choice but to hang out with us tonight. Say, man, I had a very eventful day out at the voting polls with Squeaky and Jawbone. And Squeaky is upset about the press conference. So when I look up, I done got the police called on me. And then I go to the restroom. We solved that. They figured out I hadn't did anything wrong. I go to the restroom because I need to change for a press conference. And I come out the restroom and the police is back. I did everything in my power, you good people. Y'all know I'm a good dude, man. Good, calm, patient dude. And I did everything in my power, Miss Demetra, to make them people take me to jail. Because I needed the legend to get bigger. I needed it to be larger than life. And they wouldn't take me. But I want to say this, and then I'm going to turn this over to Demetra. Fort Bend County is a place where I stayed, where I took my family to and I grew up kind of as a man providing for my family in Fort Bend County. Even though I didn't like the dynamics of the racism, it was a nice place to be to get my family away from the rough side of town. The disrespect of anybody that's an elected official, like Darrell Smith, what I saw today, is that a true reflection of Fort Bend County? Him and his people have violated so many election laws, is unreal. You can't say you didn't do it, Mr. Smith, because we took pictures of you all day. You're in violation of election laws, but your attitude and the way that you handle people, I think you people need to be very careful if this man wins this election. Because, you know, some days, Demetra, the higher power gives me the words to tell the people, Mr. Donovan. And if this man wins, he's either going to kill somebody or somebody's going to kill him. He is totally out of control. He is totally out of control. He has no respect for anybody. Anybody. And it's a shame that the African American Democratic representation in the constable's office is doing the things that they're doing. It is just totally out of control. And the only thing that I can call it, Ms. Demetra, if I ain't never knew what ratchet was, I saw it today. You got it.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome, Georgia. And welcome to the War Zone Friday night edition. I'm sure we're going to hear a little bit more about Gary's predicament out there on the front lines at the voting polls. I guess today was the last day of early voting, so we're going to hear all about that. And as you guys probably see me with my wet wash cloth, if you will, it's not that I'm washing myself or anything. My air conditioning decided to take a dump. And as we speak, the air conditioner repair is here. So thank God for that. So I have to stay cool. And speaking of which, what I want to talk to you guys about today is this weekend and going forward for the next couple of weeks. It says that the South, Midwest, and other parts of the country are experiencing a very extreme heat wave. said it is extremely hot and it is very dangerous and it is deadly. So I want to tell you guys just to make sure you stay cool as much as you can. Out here in Southern California, it's 100 degrees right now. That'll be 103, 4, 5 over the next couple of days. And so I just want to tell you guys, I know a lot of times our elderly people in our lives, whether it's our family or friends, they don't like to turn the air on because they're on a fixed income. And, you know, the light bill, electric bill, some people will say is very high. I know for me last month, it was over $300. You know, just, hey, we're not going to be hot up in this mug, okay? So with that being said, that's true for a lot of people. So we know our elderly friends and family, they don't want to turn on the air, but go check on them and make sure they're okay. Even if it means, you know, collecting some money to help them pay that light bill, please do not let those people go unchecked. It is going to be very, very hot into the triple digits. So just be very careful and, you know, stay hydrated and all of that. That's all I have to say right now. Now back to my wet washcloth.
You know, this week we've talked about money. We talk about it all the time. But when you got some money, that don't mean that your credit is good. Just because you got money don't mean that your credit good. You can make out. See, I'm an old dough boy from back in the day. Just because I had a bunch of money didn't mean I could go buy a house. It didn't mean I could go buy a car. I had to have some type of credit, and I got that. You know, and I got that. So the thing is tonight we want to talk about credit repair, all that. You know, what's the reasons that your credit score looks like, you know, the heat index in Texas right now, 100. I'm trying to figure out why you keep tearing it up. I'm trying to figure out why don't you do something to fix it? You know, stop putting them light bills in them kids' names and all that stuff y'all be doing, man. That's what y'all be doing some days. But I guess tonight is not only in the credit repair business and credit business, I'm going to call it the credit business. She's also an activist. So welcome to the show, Georgia. Give us a little background on you.
Thank you guys so much for having me. And I just want to say first, giving honor to God for all the things that he's doing and that he has done. Second, thank you guys for all of the activism and awareness that you are bringing to a large audience. We really appreciate the honesty and the realness. And, you know, 5-star General, Mr. Donovan and Mr. Demetria, thank you guys so much. Just a little bit of background about me. I'm a little country girl. I grew up in this little small town in Louisiana called Bunkie. You guys probably never heard of it, but it's like
right there on the backside of Appaloosa.
Oh, there you go. Okay. There we go. I've been a nurse for 14 years, almost 15 years, and also an activist, you know, doing voter registration drives here in St. John the Baptist Parish is where I currently reside. I'm the mom of 3 kids. I have a 20-year-old and 19-year-old identical twins and twin boys. And, you know, I'm just enjoying life, about to be a grandmother in about 3 more months. So first grandchild, a son. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you. And I've been doing credit, just learning about it for, you know, ins and outs, doing it. I started off, you know, learning from someone else who had a credit repair business, actually some Caucasian females. And I didn't think it was possible. When, you know, they told me that, oh, we get bankruptcies off your credit. I'm like, People told me when you file bankruptcy, if it's a Chapter 7, you know, it's on for 7 years. And if you are 13, you're 10 years. They were like, I was like, that's not true. They took me in this room. They had a business. They took me in this room, and I kid you not, it had to be about 600 feet just with files, just with people's just files. And I was like, wow. And they pulled some and they showed me. And I was like, how is this even possible? So they gave me background information, things that, you know, they do. And this has been 16 years ago. So as the years has gone by, I've, you know, studied the Fair Credit Reporting Acts and studied the Federal Trade Commission and the CFPB and, you know, Consumer Federation Protection Bureau and things like that. And pretty much I'm not going to say I mastered it because God is the master. You know, he guides me and orders my steps, but I pretty much have this credit thing down pat. And it's just really sad. It really hurt my heart to see so many people, black and white, business owners that were denied for the EIDL loan, because even though you have a business, they pulled from your personal credit. And so many businesses are struggling and they could not get approved because of their credit scores personal. But you have a business, but you're pulling from their personal. Why are you not pulling from their Duns and Bradstreet, the business credit file? Because everything revolves around credit. And that's what we have to realize. You can have $1 million. You can have $1. The person with the dollar, with the good credit, they're going to be able to get something before that millionaire does. It's just credit is king now, and it's better than cash. And in this pandemic that we're going through in COVID-19, we have to be smart about our credit. We have to be smart about the things that are on our credit reports. And we have to make sure that we are the leaders and the guidance to our own credit. We can't rely on someone else to perfect our credit for us. We can do this, and it's free. I have a credit talk group on Facebook. It's free. I give you all the letters, all the steps, everything that you need to do. It's free. FREE, no charge, free. So that's just a little bit, a background about me. And, I just love helping people, of course, being a nurse. I just love helping people. I love people, and I love, to help. So that's just me.
Okay, so tonight you're going to play nurse as well as credit expert, because we have a disease. And that disease is called tearing up your credit. So tonight we're going to diagnose the disease. We're going to expose the disease. And hopefully we can then treat the disease. Because it's a bunch of y'all out there that just done toe up your credit. You done toe it up. Don't care nothing about it. And you guys tell me, I see this happening, especially in poor communities, where once the kid graduates high school, the parent throws them out the house. They got to go get an apartment. Basically, they start feeding for themselves. They working at McDonald's, and it don't work. Now all of a sudden you got evictions on your record. That's going on your credit. You can't pay your phone bill. That's going on your credit. Your utilities going on your credit. So my question would be, how do we stop tearing up our credit?
Well, that's a good question, General. And the first way that we can stop tearing up our credit is quit putting bills in your minor kid's name, because you are ruining them. You don't even give them a standing fighting chance out here in this big old society that we live in. Stop doing that. When my kids were 14 and 15 years old, remember I told you I had identical twin boys and a girl. I put them on 3 of my credit cards as authorized users. They're 19 and 20 now. My son that's 19, that's the one that's having the baby. He got an apartment a month ago. His credit score was 775, 19 years old. He had a job. He has a job. He works at a plant. I used what I knew to help my kids to get that start, because I didn't want them, like you said, to be in this big old world working, and nothing's wrong with working at McDonald's, but we have to equip our kids at least with good credit. So if they do work at McDonald's, they can afford to go out, and if they need to purchase them a vehicle, somebody's not sticking them with 40% interest, where they can get that interest rate at 3, 4, 5%. we have to make sure that's number one. Number two, we have to make sure that if we are delinquent on any student loans, that's a big problem in America. And not just for African Americans, because they have white Americans that also have Mexican Americans, all Americans, that have some kind of higher education. They are going to have some kind of student loan debt. I graduated from Southern University in Baton Rouge back in 1991. I think it was $50,000 worth of student loan debt. I let them take it out my checkings account every month. I know it was like $25. I never missed a payment because I let them set it up on auto draft. They never took my income tax. They never filed a garnishment on me. They never filed a judgment on me because I took that responsibility. It was a lot. But I knew that if I didn't do something, that I would become a victim and fall into default. They will take your money. They will put a judgment out on you, and it ruins your credit. Child support, number two. That's a huge one. I mean, child support will tear your credit up. One late child support payment will bring you down like 50 points. So if you have a 350 credit score, you already in the mud at 300. If you have a 750 credit score and they take you down 50 points for one late child payment, you're at a 700. Not bad, but that 700 versus 750 could be 3% interest. So whereas if you were going to buy a new car, your note may be, $325 when it could have been $250. So again, we have to take these things, student loans, child support, things like that. We have to take that seriously. So many programs out here for student loan debt. There's income-based forgiveness loans. There's, they go on your income. So if you're only making $300 a month, you may not have to pay anything in student loans. So they help. It's programs out here. We just have to learn to get with people and associate ourselves with people that has the resources and the knowledge that's going to take you from point A, and we're going to take you all the way through the alphabets to Z. We don't want to see anybody struggling. That's my biggest thing. That's my biggest hurt. I had someone on in my credit talk group last night. She had just gotten a divorce. She said her credit score was 400. She said after the group, she went up to 650. She went to the car lot yesterday. She posted it in the group. She got a brand new automobile. She was so excited. She said when she got to the lot and that inquiry was pulled on her report. And when everything hit her report, she said she went up 15 points. I mean, that brought tears to my eyes because I've been divorced for 2 years, but I didn't let the divorce affect my credit because I knew what to do. But there's so many people out here that are getting divorced, and the divorce is just tearing their credit down. So I was so happy for this young lady. She's in the credit talk group, and I was just like, I got off the, when I talked to her on, in the group, I just got off and I just went to my room and I just cried because I know that we are making a difference and it's showing with the results, and it's free. You don't have to pay somebody $5,000 to do your credit. It's free.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. And that's great advice. And when wisdom speaks, I hope everybody out there is taking notes. I got my pen. I'm taking notes because it is free information. But you just said something right there where the lady had low credit. Then she did what she had to do, with the knowledge. And then she immediately went out and purchased a car. Now, would that be some kind of advice you would give somebody? You just increasing your credit, then now immediately you're going to go out and get a car. I mean, what advice would you give in direction to that? Well, they just got it.
And that's a good question. And that varies because I don't know what her situation was. I don't know if she didn't have a vehicle. I don't know if, something happened. It was split to the divorce. I'm not really sure. So I didn't ask that question, but it's all sorts of things that people are getting their credit score. They have mortgages, they have homes, maybe she just needed a new vehicle. I don't know, that part, but I would suggest, if you get your credit to where you want it to be, invest. Go to the bank and get that loan that they denied you for a year ago. Get that loan and go get that investment property so you can have multiple streams of income. Go ahead.
Sorry. So let me ask you this. I want to go back to the student loan issue just a second. So we know a couple of weeks ago, I think it was Navient Great Lakes reported erroneously to the credit bureaus that 5 million Americans that are have student loans were late, or they put a negative remark on their credit, knocking some people down to the tune of 90 points. Now they went back and removed the point or the remarks, but it didn't fix people's credit score, and the credit score stayed the same. So, what is your advice? Because and people have called the IRS and all type of stuff, and they're like, "Well, it's not we don't know what to do. It's on the credit reporting or the Navient and all of that to fix it." And so, what is your expertise on that, and what is your advice?
That is a good question, Ms. Dimitri, and I posted that in the group as well. They had some members in Credit Talk that has Navient, that has the other student loan companies, and they did report them as deferred. They made them like they were deferred, and it took the actual amount that they would pay down and it increased it. So instead of you paying, like if you pay $100 a month, it made you stagnant. So it made it look like your balance went up. So what I would recommend on that is call Navient, call Great Lakes, let them know the mistake. They did correct some of them, but who's to say they corrected it all? Because just like you said, the credit points didn't go back up. And how unfortunate is that? No bad on their end, right? They're really good about, screwing the little consumer and, oh, it's our bad, but we took 90 points from you, but we're not giving it back. That's where the Consumer Federation Protection Bureau comes in at. I use them all the time. You can file complaints. You can send screenshots to them, and they will investigate. I promise you. This is one federal agency that I swear by. Well, they will get down and they will resolve your issue. I promise you that. I did a complaint, I think maybe a week ago. It was last Friday. My credit scores hadn't updated, and one of them had updated in like 2 months. They were really slow on updating. Experience is really bad with that. So I was just like, mad. So I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead on and include all three of them in a complaint to the CFPB. Well, my credit score all of a sudden when they got because everything is electronic. So when one of the bureaus got it, miraculously my scores just started being inputted and my accounts were being updated. Why does it take me to do that? And by law, that you have to do that.
Right.
So again, we have to stay vigilant on our side. We can't depend on Navient and Great Lakes to say, "Ooh, we messed up. We gonna fix it." Like you said, they messed up, but they didn't give you your points back. So you're down 90 points. So what if you were to go, you're a single mom and you got approved through one of the programs to go and buy you a home. Now your 650 has turned into a low 500 just because of an error on someone else's part. They can't do that, but you have to make them. They're not going to take you by the hand and acknowledge they made a mistake. That you have to make them.
Well, I know Congress is trying to hold them accountable, them being Navient and Great Lakes, for what they did to people, because that was the difference between them renting a house or buying a house or renting, or, it really messed people up. And so actually from last time I read, Congress is actually trying to impose fines and penalties on those companies for doing that to people. So I guess it remains to be seen, but it didn't change for a lot of people.
And here's the thing, Mr. Demetria, we have to remember too, they have those big time lobbyists in Washington, D.C. that the credit bureaus give a lot of money to go and lobby for them. So although we have some House of Representatives and senators on the state level of your state and on the federal level that are for the people, you have a lot that get big dollars from these people. So we have to pay close attention to laws that affects the consumer. Because if I'm a lobbyist and I'm lobbying 20 senators with big fat dinners and contributions, and I want to say, you know what? I don't want to have to give the consumer 30 days in order to respond to that complaint. I think we should make it 50 days. Let's vote on that. Well, if I'm a senator and I'm going to say, you know what? Well, you gave me $1 million. So, that sounds good. No, that doesn't sound good. You have to protect the consumer. You have to. You have to You have to protect the consumer from these predatory lenders. We went through that with Dodd-Frank, with President Obama, with the housing market that bust, and they came up with Dodd-Frank. You have to protect consumers because no one else will. CFPB protects consumers against illegal credit reporting agencies. They file suit and get judgment against them all the time. So again, we have to be mindful of the people that we put into office that are going to represent us. We can't vote for them because they're Black. We have to make sure we're voting for them and that you're going to make a change. I'm a Democrat.
Right.
I'm a Democrat, born and raised. But if I see a Republican, whether he be Black or white,
I'm a shock the world. Hold on a second. I'm gonna shock the world tonight. You know how people be transgender? I don't know how they work, but they say, you could turn transgender or whatever. Tonight I'm white and I'm a Republican. I don't have these Black problems right now.
Well,
well, I got this question, and I hate to say it this way, but a lot of these government programs recently, they put moratoriums on your mortgage or your rent. Now, as a credit specialist, I did a video, especially here in California, in regards to that. And I'm telling people, you better pay that because they didn't put a moratorium on your credit reporting. What is your opinion on that?
Again, I think that Congress could have done more than what they did. I think the House could have done more than what they did. They gave the CARES Act for businesses. I'm all for that. I have a business. I do tax lien certificates. I have a business, been in business for 10 years. That's beautiful. But you have to think about the consumer. The consumers are the people that drive the economy. So if you're messing with people's credit reports and you are not allowing them to truly live up to their credit expectations by dinging them for late things that they're not responsible for, by having inaccurate information on their credit reports. Over 30 million Americans have inaccurate information on their credit reports. 30 million. When you have inaccurate information on your credit report, that could be the difference of $250 versus $500 to $700 a month. These lenders will put you in a home with a 500 credit score. They'll tell you that you can have a 500 credit score. They'll give you a car with a 500 credit score. But I bet you best believe your interest rate for that car is going to be no less than 25%. So you will be paying interest and you won't even be paying principal. So you'll have that car about 30 years before you can even pay it off.
So, Donovan?
Yeah, let me just follow it up real quick. The reason I bring that up is I tell people, you got to pay that bill. You got to pay that bill, come up with it some way. But even if you don't, let's say you're forced to take the moratorium, and you know how we do. We figure we ain't got to pay for 3 months, so we're going to spend the money on this and spend the money on that. But what a lot of people don't realize, and those that are listening out there, is when you don't pay that and they report that on your credit, like you said, your credit takes a hit because there was no moratorium. So now they've come up with a new government plan. But guess what? Your credit rating went from a 700 to a 580, and you needed a 600 to qualify for that government program. So, just putting it out there, a lot of people aren't aware of that. They think, oh, I got to pass for 3 months. No, you don't. You got to protect your credit.
At all costs. You hit the nail on the head. I don't even need to follow up with that. You hit it on the head. You have to protect your credit. It's no two ways about it. And if you have extra, pay extra. I have people that help me with Credit Talk. I have a young lady, Crystal Placide. She has a casket company called Elite Caskets. She's one of the administrators in the group. We also have 2 other administrators. They have businesses and they know the importance of what businesses are. One lady, she does Twit cards. She handles that side of it, and they have another that's a travel agent. The importance of your business. That Duns and Bradstreet don't work for us. It's not working right now, because if Duns and Bradstreet worked, A lot of people who's denied for this EIDL loans, they will be getting approved. They're basing that EIDL loan on your personal credit. But we have businesses though. So make it make sense to me.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to kind of go in a different direction. So hypothetically, right? I had a credit card I didn't pay for. The 7-year, I guess, period passed. I checked my credit, and lo and behold, I see this debt on my credit again, on my credit report. And I guess what happened was, I guess another company, collection company, if you will, picked it up and now is re-reporting that on my credit as if it's a new debt, although the debt is 7 years plus old. Is that erroneous reporting, or is that legitimate?
That is definitely erroneous reporting. Every state is not 7 years. So my state in Louisiana is 7 years. You would have to look up the laws in your state. But what I can tell you is in Louisiana, if it's 6.5 years and another company buys that debt, they can definitely start over and re-reporting. But Ms. Demetria, that instance that you said, that's definitely illegal. Like I said, you have to check the laws in your state. I know here in Louisiana, a collection agency has to be licensed and bonded before they can collect a debt. So that's what I tell the people in Credit Talk. Look at who the debt collector is. We find them all the time. They're, based out of New York. They don't want to come to Louisiana and pay that license and bonding fee. So if I'm the consumer and I don't know this, I'm not going to look at the Secretary of State website in Louisiana and say, oh, wow, ABCD Credit Collection Agency is not licensed and bonded to practice here. And then when you find that they're not, there's a letter that we use that I give in Credit Talk, and you send it to them. And then they see that little paragraph. Are you licensed and bonded to practice and collect a debt in my state? And about 10 days later, you'll get a letter saying, dear Ms. Keller, we have reported to the bureaus that we have deleted this debt for you. Like it's no longer there. It will never come back because you called them on it. But if you don't call them on it, they won't help you. So you have to call them on it.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why is it that African Americans don't feel that credit, they don't take it as serious as white America? Because us over here in white America, we take it very serious. And if some of y'all just tune in and you confused, I'm white tonight. If you can be transgender, I can be white tonight. I'm white tonight. And we don't have those issues in white America. So why is it that African Americans don't take credit as serious as white Americans?
Okay, so you in white America tonight. White Americans do have bad credit. Trust the plus. They do. It's just that they have a different relationship.
I got a sister that don't take it. Credit don't mean nothing to her.
Okay, all right. Let me explain, because you're in white America tonight. White Americans do have bad credit. They absolutely do. But their relationships with having cosigners, their relationships with the banking industry, they have different relationships than what we have. We just have to be true and call it what it is. And I think a lot of the Black community is they just weren't taught. Like a lot of us in the Black community, we just weren't taught about credit. My mom and dad were entrepreneurs, so they taught me about credit. But I had friends that their parents didn't teach them about credit. So I think that, Congress wants to do something great on the state and local level. Let's make it mandatory for students coming into 9th grade to have some kind of credit course. But you see, then that would elevate those that they don't want to be elevated. You see, then that would put us on a level playing field. If you had that in every high school in America, made it mandatory that a curriculum for credit has to be taught at least 2 years. They have to take it, whether it be their freshman year, their senior year, they would have to take it. And I guarantee you, these numbers that you see on defaults, repossessions, collections, I guarantee you it would decrease. But then again, the collection agencies wouldn't make money. The banks wouldn't make money because they depend on people with bad credit. That's how they get their money.
Now that's something I agree with you on. I've been
And
saying
what's
it
that?
for the longest that you need to have some type of financial literacy course
Uh-huh.
in these high schools because these kids are at an age. Some of the most of the ones in the African American community that the schools that I visit, a lot of these kids have jobs. A lot of these kids don't even know. They don't even know anything about credit. They don't know nothing about finance. And I totally agree with you. They should teach that in school. I do agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. They should teach it in school, some sort of finance class. But I'm like many of you. I come from entrepreneurs, and I was just basically always taught never spend more than you make. you know, that was the basis of my education. And I've only had bad credit once in my life, and it was because I allowed someone else to use it. Let's say I never made that mistake again. But we definitely and I say this a lot, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but the school should teach those things, but that should be secondary to what they learn at home. Mom and dad are teaching that, and I get it. My father always says you can't teach what you don't know. So a lot of times our parents per se don't know these things, but at some point in time, we got to break the cycle and educate ourselves. My brother, always says YouTube is the new college. Anything you want to learn, you can go to YouTube, you can Google it, and start from scratch if you want to. So putting it on the school is no longer an excuse. It's almost like saying, and I'm not saying you guys are saying that, parents sending their kids to school, it's your job to discipline them. They with you 8 hours a day. What you want me to do?
And I agree with you to a certain degree because I believe, and this is something I learned from coaching. I didn't know how to coach anything but championship football, and that's something that every coach can't do. So when it comes to a parent, a lot of these parents can't teach what they don't know. That's the reason a lot of kids are falling through the cracks with education to begin with, because a lot of these parents don't have diplomas. They don't understand the value of it. So I agree with you. It should start at home, but we're gonna have to help the parents get in a situation in a position where they can understand how valuable what Georgia is talking about tonight and what you're talking about, Demetra. They have to understand how important it is. I would rather them teach them, especially in Texas. Watch this here. Teach them about financial literacy instead of creating a course and a curriculum on how to deal with the police when they stop you.
Absolutely. I have a question. Like I said, I've been taking my notes. I've been listening very attentively. Hypothetically, a lot of people that are watching this show, we were the first generation of kids where our parents took our credit and put it, and took our name and put credit on it and just destroyed us. So that legacy is still going on till this very day. Now, if I'm a young person and I'm just graduating high school and I just found out that my mom did this or my dad did this to me, what do I do?
Call the laws.
Yeah, I mean, the general is right. That's a sticky situation. When I started doing this 16 years ago, I had a young man who had just graduated from high school, and the father had went and used his social security number and secured a loan, $35,000 to buy him a vehicle. And that was the suggestion. I said, and I told the mom, she came to me, she was in tears. I was in tears. We was both in tears. And he looking at us like, why y'all in tears? Because the baby didn't understand. He was 18, fresh out of high school. The baby didn't understand why we were in tears. I was in tears because I knew what had to be done to the dad in order to get this off his record. So I suggested to the mom, I said, Mom, it's going to be hurtful. The mom and dad were divorced. I said, this is something that you're going to have to do. I said, you're going to have to file a police report because this is fraud. I mean, I'm real. I keep it real. I mean, I say things that people don't want to say. I may look mild-mannered, but I am very, very, very outspoken. I call a spade a spade. So I had to let mom know you can do one of two things. You can go file the police report, or it can stay on this baby's credit report for 7 years. And you can hope when he gets a good job that the creditor does not file a judgment against him for his father's debt.
Okay, but let me ask this, because who really gonna call the po-po on their daddy? I mean,
Me?
That's my point. But it's only one or two ways to take care of it, Ms. Dimitri. I mean, for me, it's a hard decision.
Okay, because I think very logically. So let's say I'm 18, right? I go get some credit or try to get some credit, and I got $35,000 on my credit from a couple of years ago. First of all, 18, I wasn't even old enough to even go into a contract. So somewhere, without me having to call, because I'm not going to call the police on my daddy, okay? Somewhere it seems like I should be able to dispute that. Listen, I wasn't even of the age of consent to do that, so it's not mine. I don't know who it is, but it doesn't belong to me. Seems
You
like
can
I'm
dispute
that
it.
off my credit.
But they're going to ask you if you weren't of the age of consent, then we need to get a police report. The bureau, the creditor is going to tell you that. So we know I was 15 years old. I don't have a Cox Communication bill or AT&T bill in my name. I didn't go get a $35,000 loan. First of all, but there again, these laws should be protecting 15, 16, 17-year-olds from someone getting a loan in their name, but we know that doesn't work. So they're going to say, okay, we know you were 15, so go get me a police report and we'll take it off your credit report. So then what you going to do? I know it's not me, but what am I going to do? Am I going to let it stay there? Or am I going to go and file a police report? Now, when you file the police report, you don't have to, if you don't know who it is, you don't know who it is. But if you know who it is, they're going to ask you. And if you lie to the police and when they do the investigation, then you got more trouble. So for me, parents shouldn't do that to their kids. Parents should help their kids. Kids shouldn't have to help their parents.
No,
they're 15, 16, 17, 18. I'm not talking about, because I'm 47. And I've always said my mother is still alive. My father passed away when I was 18. I always said if my mother ever gets sick, I would bring her to my home, or I would go to her home and care for her. So let's be clear. If a parent has the audacity to put a bill in their child's name, then we have a problem.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying here is because I've heard of that happening to people, and all they had to do was dispute the charge. And I see a couple other people in the comment section saying that happened to them as well. And all they had to do is dispute it. And so I obviously, this is what they're saying. So I don't know if they're lying or what, but they're saying
no. And I'm not disputing that, Mr. Demetri. What I'm saying is, in some cases, it may work. Right. But in some cases, if they ask you to go get a police report because it's fraud, or you think you're the victim of fraud, then you have to go get the police report. So yeah, you can dispute it. I'm not saying you can dispute anything. You can dispute a student loan, and it's yours and it'll come out. But that doesn't make it that the IRS won't take your income tax return every year.
Right. Yeah. I'm just saying, on a realistic side, and Christopher said exactly what I was going to say. Most people aren't going to go, snitch on their parent. To have
I would. Fuck that.
I ain't snitching on my daddy. I'm just saying that like that. But as a lot of people were saying, I know people who just simply said it wasn't mine. Hey, I was 13 when the credit, whatever it was, happened. So it couldn't have been mine, and it was simple. They disputed it like that. So.
And that does happen. But in this case, the young man came to me. They tried to dispute it, but they wanted them to go get the police report because it was fraud. So you have to take every case individually. Some people are blessed enough to get it off on the first round. Others, they want a police report. So it depends on the creditor. It depends on if they want to lose out on $35,000, $45,000, $55,000. So you have to take each case, case by case.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I got a plan. Over here in white America, we do things different. Demetri, I know you're pro-black, but just sit back. You're going to be okay. Here's my thing. I got a plan. I'm going to get the mansion. I'm going to get the matching Bentleys. And then I'm filing bankruptcy.
In the past, that was acceptable. You can be a millionaire and file bankruptcy. You can file Chapter 7. Well, the laws have now changed. They go by your income. So if you go get the mansion and the car and you make over a certain amount of money, you are not eligible for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. You will have to file Chapter 13, which is reorganization. So they got that part together because so many people were doing it. Just like you said, they would go and get the mansion, go and get the big cars, and they would keep them 2 or 3 years, file for bankruptcy, go to credit cleaning places, get that credit just cleaned and done over again and start over. So they got hip to it, and it was black people and white people filing for bankruptcy. So not just black people file for bankruptcy, a lot of people of different races file for bankruptcy. But now it's income based. So you're not just gonna go, Congress passed the law that it's income based now. So you're not just gonna go do that unless you make a certain, they go by your income now for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, I guess is what I'm saying.
So in regards to the credit, now you got a lot of people that have student loans. Now I know some people, you need to get it, and some people have no expectations of paying those student loans off. Now Dimitri will tell you, because I was in the military, they discharged $64,000. I'm done. I'm out. And I know people say, well, he's always talking about the military. Military is not for everybody. But what I'm saying is, for those of us that have to get into it, there's a lot of good business benefits in the military, believe it or not. But just because I was in the military, they discharged all, and this is after I retired. I got a letter from my VA guy, and he says, hey, you have any student debt? I said, yeah. He said, how much? I said, about $75,000 or something like that. I sent in a letter a week later. They discharged it. Good. Credit score went zoop to the roof. So, it can be, but would you recommend somebody that to get, a lot of us are getting the student loans and we're living off of them with our kids, the kids are living off of it and getting cars and stuff like that. Would you recommend getting a student loan if they really don't have to get a student loan? Because it seems like now it's just the trend to do.
I wouldn't recommend student loans, but you would have to get a student loan. I know that, a lot of people, they get a Pell Grant, but the college is so expensive now, especially a 4-year university. It's almost impossible not to get a student loan. But like you said, Mr. Donovan, as far as forgiveness, they have a lot of professions. Like if you're a teacher and you go teach in a rural area for 2 or 3 years. I know a lot of teachers from Teach for America or Teach from America for America. They were getting their student loans forgiven because they were coming out to New Orleans, places like, little rural Iowa, and they were teaching and, they got their student loans forgiven. Also, I know like doctors and nurses, if you go to a rural town like Bunkie, providers stay there a certain time and they can get their loans forgiven. Nurses, nurse practitioners, they can get their loans forgiven. So there are all professions that they will, forgive your loans, but you have to, it's a contract. You have to be on a contract for a certain amount of time. But I wouldn't recommend student loans if you didn't need them. But in today's society, it's practically impractical not to have a student loan.
Wow. And as far as, credit, we all started it out. I remember when Demetra just got her little cars and her little car and she's running around in the neighborhood here. But of course we get overwhelmed because we have too many credit cards. What do you recommend in regards to how much debt should you carry in regards to cards? Because the way I look at it, for me, if I've got one card that has I have one card that has a $65,000 limit on it or something like that. So with that kind of limit, I don't need a $4,000 card or 20, unless it's like some thing. So what would you recommend, for people to do carrying how much debt?
It depends on the individual and what you want to carry. I mean, you can, in Credit Talk, I advise, FICO. My FICO is a good app to have. They have real-time credit scores, and they, anything that changed, they hit you. If you're on the black market, I know my social security number, doing Isaac, we had a hurricane here, and Hurricane Isaac, and I had 4 feet of water in my home, and FEMA put us up in a hotel, and the contractor who had the contracts to put residents up in hotels got their data breached. So my social security number and others ended up on the black, they call it underground, the black web. So I guess people were making fake credit cards and stuff, in your name. You know how that goes. But when it's on the black web, it alerts you to all that kind of stuff. FICO recommends 10% to keep your utilization at 10%. I recommend 1 to 5% so you can get the maximum points every month on your credit cards. So let's just do a credit utilization. So let's just go through what credit utilization is. So credit utilization, and I'm gonna take my calculator out to figure this. Let's say, because my math, I gotta make sure, So let's say you have $1,000 credit card, right? And let's say your balance is let's say 673. Okay, so you have a balance of 673, and your balance is 1,500 on that card. So you're carrying a 44.866. That's reporting to the 3 major bureaus every month. Now you ask me, how did you get this? What I did was I divided my balance, which was 673. That's what I have on my card. I divided that by the balance on the card. So my limit on the card is $1,500. So I took what's owed on the card and the credit limit on the card, and I divided that, and then I multiply it by 100. And it gave me my 44.866. So every month, we should be looking at what our utilization is by that statement date. You're going to have a due date, and that due date is when you pay that balance off, you don't accrue any interest. So if I had the balance on my card is $575, I would have to pay this $575 off. Let's just say my due date was the 20th of each month. I would have to pay this $575 off on the 20th of the month. If not, that's how the credit card companies start making that money. They start putting that interest every day on this $575. Now, this is how we're going to beat them at their own game. We're going to pay this $575 down, right? We're going to pay it down, but we're going to try to keep our balances to something where we can conquer. So we're going to try to keep it down. So let's just change this to $75. So now my balance is $75 on my card, right? I'm going to pay this by the 20th of the month. So once I pay that $75, my balance is down to 0. I have no balance on this card now. Now, say my statement date is the 25th of the month. Remember, your statement date is the balance that the card is going to report to the credit bureaus. So I know that I want to keep my balance between 1 and 5%, but if I go up to 10%, that's good. I'm going to get points, but I'm not going to get them as if I had that 1 to 5%, right? So I'm going to go and charge a sports drink, or I'm gonna go to Sonic and get me a Route 44. I love root beer. So I'm gonna get me that and some mozzarella sticks. So I'm gonna say my total is gonna be like $628, right? And then remember, I have $1,500 on this card, right? So my balance is $628 now. I remember I paid off that $75. We paid that off on the due date. We didn't collect any interest. So I got $628. That's my new balance. And I want to get this in before my statement date. Remember that. I need to get this in before my statement date because this is what I want to report to the bureau. So I'm going to say $6.28, and we're going to divide that by 1,500 because remember, we're going to say we had 1,500 on our card, and then we're going to multiply that by 100. So 0.4 is what they're going to report to the credit bureau. Now, I told you I didn't want it to be, it can't be 0 because they're not going to give you any points. So I want to bump that 678 up just a little bit. So I'm going to go for $20. I'm just going to say I'm going to go for $20 now. and I'm going to divide that by 1,500, and I'm going to multiply that by 100. So now, see, by bumping it up to 15 bucks, look what I got. This is what's going to be this 1.3%. That's what's going to be reported to the bureaus. And you can eat them up. We eat them up every month in Credit Talk. We tear them up. We tear them up with this. We tear them up. I did a whole segment on credit utilization, and we tear them up on the statement B. But we keep our balances to where we can do that. Like we won't because like I said, if you owe $1,500, it's no way that you can pay $1,500 out by the due date. I know I can't. I mean, I have a Discover card and I still have like a $7,000 balance. That's my highest card. And I'm steady trying to knock it down. So I pay more than the minimum. But the other credit cards that I have, I keep those at like $20, $30. Something that I know that I can manage. So I can't eat Discover up because my utilization is high, but I can eat the 4 other ones up that I have. And that's what we do in the group. We eat utilization up every month.
Final thoughts, Ms. Demetri.
I will just say thank you so much for coming on and enlightening us on credit. Please come back because the credit, just the conversation is so vast, right? Everybody has, like you said, unique scenarios and different situations and all kind of stuff. And so thank you so much for coming on the War Zone, and please, please, please come back.
Thank you guys so much for having me. And whenever you get ready for me to come back, please just let me know. I'm available to you guys anytime. If you call me, I'm going to drop what I'm doing and I'm going to make room. So I'm so appreciative and I'm so thankful to God that you guys had me on tonight. And I hope that I was able to shed some light to the viewers and the people that were listening. I hope that I did a good job in explaining, credit and things and ways that we can, improve our credit, going forward. And if anyone would like to join the group, it's called Credit Talk on Facebook, and before the broadcast is over, I'll take a screenshot, or if any of the Credit Talk members are out there, please take a screenshot of the logo and post it, because it's a lot of Credit Talks out there, and I want to make sure, that the people are getting in the right group, but I'll try to go ahead on and do it as well. I know we got a lot of members out there tonight, because I want to make sure that, you get into the right group with us. And we'll take you, and you can answer as many questions, ask as many questions as you would like, and we answer you. Like, if not right away, we get back to you, because like I said, we want everybody to feel comfortable, and it's free, and we don't allow scammers in the group. We block. So when you go to the group, I block, and the other administrators, we block. We don't allow scammers, so we block.
Final thoughts, Donald.
Hey, again, thank you so much for being on the show. New Roads, Louisiana, born here. So, I'm from down there. But again, one thing I like about this show is we all have different personalities. We all bring something to the table, and it's for the betterment of our people, because unfortunately, the only thing a lot of us know, especially our generation, a lot of us, grandpa, big mama, they're the children of the sharecroppers. And we know how the white guy did the sharecropping credit thing. So that's why Big Mama and them always was talking about cash and carry. So, but in the 21st century, credit is the new cash. You got to have it. You got to protect it. They're going away from dollars and coins. So thank you again for being on the show. Please come back. I'm definitely going to look up your group, and we'll see you when I get over there.
I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been very, very enlightening. And I hope that the viewers are getting something from these good people, whether it's credit, whether it's insurance. You're getting a lot of information so that you don't have to make the same mistakes over and over. And in all actuality, that's a blessing in itself. I know some of y'all sit on here and you play. Guess you got it all together. But like I said last night, you wouldn't sit here in some of these discussions if you didn't have to be here. Not watching the show, because you know what the discussion is about. So if your credit was super tight, or if you really thought you was where you needed to be, you wouldn't sit there and listen to that. You wouldn't have to. I learned that a long time ago. So I want to thank you guys, and I want to thank you, Georgia. You welcome to come back at any time. You know, I'd love to see you and Walter on the show together. Only problem is we're gonna have to put a time limit on y'all. Both of y'all can go. Both of y'all can go. So,
Oh, well, thank you so much. And like I said, thank you guys for all the work that you do in the community and keep up the great work.
hey man, it's been an eventful week. I want to thank you for tuning in. Thank my co-hosts, Donovan Sadiq, the Queen Demetra K, George Keller, Credit Talk. Say, man, I'm the 5-star general. I want you to wake up in the morning and find out what your purpose in life is. Because once you figure it out and you turn a blind eye to it, the higher power gonna shorten your days because you don't serve a purpose. Until Monday.